I may be in the minority, but I'm all on board with the goalie rotation. Because you've been doing it all season, and the probability of two of the best goaltenders in the league thus far this season being able to win 4 out of a potential 7-game series, I'll take those odds every day. So I would like to see him start with what they've been doing all season long, which is what these goalies have been accustomed to. And let's not forget, goalies are very much creatures of habit. If they stray outside of what their normal and customary routine, you can call them head cases, whatever the case may be, but I think it would be detrimental to at least not start.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that you can't change course, but I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
At least to start.
All right. Well, this is what Jim Montgomery said over the weekend about his goaltender conundrum when it comes to the playoffs.
I think if we commit to a rotation, it's going to be game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. If that's what we end up deciding, and then we can go from there. Obviously, performance and winning in the playoffs dictates a lot of decision making, but this is what we're comfortable doing. It's what our goalies are used to preparing, So we'll see what ends up happening. It's hard when you win game 1. If you do win game 1, to switch. But if you're committed to it, and it's the way you think your goaltenders have had tremendous success the last 2 years, it doesn't make a lot of sense to switch. But as we all know, results really matter. They're immediate in the playoffs.
I think he's going to go with the rotation. I said it when we played that audio at 7 o'clock. It sounds like he's going to go with it.
That's a disaster waiting to
the
happen.
right call.
Well, you and Curtis say it's a disaster.
Because
Courtney says it's not.
Here's why it's a disaster.
So when has it happened in hockey history?
Well, even if it's never happened, Curtis, and I agree with you, but here's why it's a disaster. Let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, it does go the way you want it to go. 2 goalies in game 1, 2. 2 goalies in game 3, 4. 2 goalies, next goalie game 5, 6.
Yeah.
Now who's playing game 7? So either way, it's not going to work. Or
it can work. I'm sure Montgomery is sitting them both down and saying, hey, this is the plan. So they're not going to be caught off guard.
Right, but the plan,
when you get to a game 7
if
situation.
If they didn't hug, would you guys feel differently? I'm being honest.
Or I would ask this question. Is the plan more likely to have more questions arise in the sense of because of your game 7, if one goalie starts out and he goes 2-0, is there more questions that arise from that way versus just picking one guy and going with him?
I think either way, you're going to get second guessed, just like last year, right? Like if they had kept with the rotation and lost to the Panthers, they were going to get second guessed for not sticking to one goalie. But we second guessed them because he stuck with Omar instead of alternating.
No. But he second guessed him because of the injury.
We second guessed him because Ullmark was hurt the whole time.
Yes.
No.
That's the only reason why we second guess them. Stop it, Shime.
Even if Omar, right now. Wiggy, even if Omar played the entire series and they lost, and he was healthy, if they lost, we were still going to second guess Montgomery.
Yeah, but
that's why he's screwed if he does, screwed if he doesn't.
The second guessing of him going with one guy and that one guy losing, we then might have said, okay, we second guessed him, but we would have put it more on the goalie. The second guessing of last year came because you're right, Greg, because of the injury. There's more issues.
They should have never brought Bergeron back. 0-3.
There will be more. There will be more second guessing of Jim Montgomery this season if he decides to go with the platooning of the 2 goalies, because you're going to have more questions come up. Curtis brought it up at the beginning. What if Swayman plays the first 2 games, gives up 1 goal, stands on his head? How do you then go to Omar in game 3, 4?
Like they've been doing all season long. Even if one of them is hot,
though, Courtney, it's different.
I understand, but I think that these 2 are different. That is my frustration with everybody. Why haven't they ever done it before? Why haven't they ever done? I think that these 2 are special.
What would you do?
I would do the rotation.
Oh, so your goalie stands on their head?
Yes.
All right, so then Shine brings up another question.
Because then you get to rest the other one. They've had so much more rest than any other goalie in this league because they can depend on the other one coming in.
So you do that. There are going to be people second-guessing him.
I understand.
Then Shine brought up another great point why you don't do this. So now,
what was Shine's great point about not doing it?
Linus is going to have to start game 3 and 4, potentially on the road.
And let me just get this in here. Wiggy, you're so right.
Appreciate it.
When we discussed, and Wiggy was the first in line, so credit where it's due, the trading of Linus at the deadline, Greg, Courtney, and Scheim laughed at us when we discussed it. You're crazy. They're never going to do it. They hug each other. They hump each other's leg. They love each other. And then Don Sweeney called everybody twice trying to trade Linus Ullmark, where he was actually agreed in principle with the deal that Linus shut down to the Kings. So if Don Sweeney tried everything he could to trade Linus Ullmark, why in God's name do you think he's going to play him in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, first of all, Ullmark and Swayman have both been on a fantastic stretch of late. So let's take the last 2 months, really.
Yep.
So, listen, Curtis, just because Don Sweeney was trading him because they had an embarrassment of riches at the position. That's why.
But you think this is why they win, and he says no.
Greg, you even yourself said it. You would rather Swayman be the goalie.
I would, because that's going to be your goaltender of the future, so you might as well get it going and start it.
But I asked Courtney, she doesn't think so. Do you think there'll be more issues platooning goalies? And when I say issues, just that could potentially arise.
Distractions.
You mean with those guys? You mean distractions from outside?
Well, not outside, but
who cares about that?
No, not outside.
Like, you're always talking about second guessing. Like, who cares?
No, not outside, but distraction in the Swayman gets game 1 and 2.
So the players are sitting there. Swayman goes and gets game 1 and 2. Plays great.
Yep.
Then the players are going to go, why are we going with the goldfish in games 3 and 4?
Or the goldfish goes, why do I got to get 2 games on the road?
It doesn't. I understand that the postseason's different, playoff scenarios are different, but they've played pretty much the same on the road and at home this past season. It's not like they're favorable on the road or at home. So if Linus has to play on the road, I don't think it matters to him.
It's all about having the mind of a goldfish.
Yes, it is.
In my limited understanding of the playoffs in hockey, the way in which that you do the matchups with the final change at home carries more weight then. And I would also say, let's just play it out. Swayman starts games 1 and 2. Bruins go up 2-0. Linus starts games 3 and 4 in Toronto. The series comes back tied at 2. Then Swayman wins the next 2 and they win the series. Who in their right mind is going to say in the next round that Linus should get the spot in net to start that series?
Well, that's why I think
it's arguably the problem with your argument is it is arguably the reason that this team has had the success that it has had this season and last season.
But that's not what the
goalie is the goalie rotation.
But that's not what the most important person in that organization when it comes to the composition of the roster thinks. If Don Sweeney thought this is why they won, why would he trade an element of it?
Then, Curtis, to that point, though, I think you said this last week. I think Don Sweeney's the one that needs to come out and just tell Jim Montgomery and everyone we're either going with the rotation or we're just going with Swayman.
And I think they will.
I think you need to take that because we've already mentioned it, how much of a conundrum this is for Montgomery. Sweeney should take that decision away from him and just be like, look, we need to just stick it with this one guy or we need to stick to the rotation, and that's what we're going to do.
All right, well, Jim Montgomery, it seems like he is leaning toward platooning the goaltenders, and each one of them gets 2 games.
That's what it seems like.
And then I guess you figure out if you're in a game 7, you go with.
I don't know who you go with. Don't you go with whoever's time's up? Why would you go with the hard
I guess so. Yeah, I know. You're right. Yeah.